All right. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another round of the Healer's Corner. We have a special guest with us tonight, Reverend Kayla Ray, and we have, brought her on because Kayla, you have a unique way of doing your healing work. Um,
I think it's normal, but okay. Yes.
Normal for
Like your
you.
cold.
So why don't you give kind of like a rundown of like what it is that you do?
Okay. So I do energy healing, but not specifically Reiki. I am not professionally trained in anything. It's all just channeled through me. It's kind of always been that way. Every time I try to learn something, like go to a class or be trained, it just goes horrible for me, or the people trying to train me. Um, so I just over time have learned what I'm actually channeling to help people, whether it's for a reading or a healing. A lot of times, of course, the readings turn into healings because that's usually people are coming and they don't even realize, what's all going on, and it turns into needing some healing work done is really what they need to come for, not to hear about it. They kind of already know what their mess is. They just don't know how to fix it. Um, so I channel a lot of different things from like spirit, like past loved ones, angels, guides, things from other realms and dimensions, other other planetary beings, aliens, if you want to call them that. That also includes like frequencies from other planets and other galaxies, universes, that kind of thing. And that goes beyond our here and now galaxy that we're all so used to and that we think of. And um, it's I don't have control over where it's coming from. I ask what's for each person or if it's for myself, and go from there. So um, one of the things is like there's people that are of belief of angels, but not of other planetary aliens, that kind of thing, other realms, dimensions. They all tie together a lot. So unless somebody's really adamant for me to separate that, I usually just let it come through. If somebody's only willing to hear from angels, that's okay. I just have to reroute things that's just from angels or different spirit. They are still like a divine spirit, divine entity. They're higher power. So it's not really fair to tell them they can't do their job and help us because we need a lot of help here. Like a lot of help here.
I feel like when you said like you have to reroute, I picture you sitting there at like one of those old fashioned phone operator, like unplugging and plugging into a new, like, oh, okay, this call's ended. Now I need to talk to so and so up over here, the switchboard.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's pretty much what it feels like. 'Cause it's like, oh, okay. And I have to sit there and stop for a second and like cut off what's going on. And like I still have to thank them for coming through to help somebody. So I have to have like a whole little conversation over here and be like, thank you for coming through to help. And then like they don't really want to talk to you, not don't hate me for it. Then I kind of have to like reroute and like retune in and ask now what wants to come through to help. And of course that's always for your highest best good and of light, not, we're not channeling in and conjuring dark things at all.
Mm.
um, there's a lot of just like any species, there's a lot of good and bad in anything. So it's just a matter of rerouting that and channeling in angels or whatnot to help somebody. Um, but the aliens are a lot more helpful than people think they are. And I'm not talking like your normal grays and that kind of
Mm.
thing. There's a lot. Like I don't even really have names for all of them necessarily. It's just they come through as frequencies or symbols, colors. So like sometimes there's just like an imagery, like a whole like projection basically of this is where I'm from, this is what I do, this is how I'm going to work with this human. Names are kind of an us thing. Names and titles are kind of like an earthy. We think everything needs a name and a title and a purpose, and there's a structure, and that's not how it is in other places. So they come in and help, and they have a much bigger purpose, especially when it comes to like DNA, people with mutant things like some of us have, right? Um, Weird genetic things, things that can't be diagnosed by medical professionals here, things that aren't making sense. So, um, yeah, that's I guess kind of a short version of that. I got my alien. We always joke about me being an alien because of my thing, and it's like, well, maybe it's not so much a joke.
I mean, I kind of, my joke has been, I'm like, alien put into a human body and the human body starting to short circuit out because it's like I can't
Yeah,
operate in this energy field.
right.
I'm like, is that what autoimmune really is?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I think so. It's like a valid argument, to be honest.
I now I understand that there are some, alien races that look kind of human. Like, do they operate physiologically the same way we do? Are we that far off from the rest of them?
Yeah, we're pretty far off from
Oh, okay.
it's just like there's, even like there's angels that walk among us, right? That look pretty much like humans. They just have different experiences. They appear when you need them to. There's definitely alien species that look a lot more like us than just humanoid, you know, visions, basically. Um, so yeah, I mean, they try to blend it with us because people don't want to hear from like when you don't know something, you don't want to respond to it, right? Like if if you're not familiar with it, you just kind of like, yeah, not for me, no thanks. So they try to blend in to help, and then it still doesn't always go well. And we
Right.
know how I feel about Resident Alien. It's kind of some. I mean,
I mean, it's a really good show, just saying.
it is.
Um,
It is not that. I mean, some of it from like, yeah, it's like comedy and it's fun and whatever. But there are parts of it like, oh, that's so true. And if only people knew how true that was, like people just start walking around and be like, "Are you an alien?"
Now, Maria, you had an important question, being that do we have to ask permission to work with them?
Mhm.
Um, so yes and no. I mean, you can ask to work with them. They can be picky. They really can. I have people who have been trying for years and the aliens are just like, "No, you can hear us, but we're not going to work with you." Or you might see us, but we're just not going to do it. I think it's just a how do I put this? If you have parts of you that are aligned with their energies, just like I'm sure there's different beings that I'm not capable of working with or not attuned to work with, I guess would be the better way to put that. Um, it's they more kind of have their team here, I feel like. At least from what I've noticed. That's been my personal experience. I don't want to, I'm sure there's somebody out there going, that's not true. My experience has been that they are willing to like come through to channel or they are willing to come through to help. It doesn't mean they're always going to work with you necessarily. And it might be more that they're coming through for the person you're working with versus they want to be with you. Um, I've had several people that do not believe in anything, other planetary, other galaxies, any of it. Um, and when they start noticing changes, I can finally say, hey, by the way, I actually did channel these things, and this is what happened. We had to change, like, we had to restructure DNA to have this. We had to redo this. Sometimes it's fertility things, sometimes it's cancers, like, different things. And it's just, I don't like to hide it from people, but sometimes there's things that you can't go around working with them. Like, the only way you're going to help this person is to do that. But they might not want to come through for somebody else. Even if there's somebody that's like, I've seen aliens 6 times in my life. I've been abducted last Thursday. The aliens might be like, yeah, okay, we don't need to, you know. So I'm a firm believer, and it doesn't hurt to ask them. The worst they're going to do is not show up. And of course, just like anything you're calling in to ask for, just ask for it to be for the highest and best good of you and your person you're working with. Nothing dark, negative, harmful.
Mhm.
They can seem pretty intense, but there's also, like archangels and that can seem pretty intense too. So they're not, or not everything's like light and fluffy like we want to picture it as. So,
No, usually, like, even in the Bible, I believe it is, where they're like, "Fear not," because they don't look like Fabio, right?
right.
Where they're pretty
Yeah, they
scary.
don't. They really don't.
Now, do you find that different planets, obviously, I'm assuming they're gonna have different energies, those
Oh,
races,
definitely. Yeah.
and do they specialize in certain types of healing depending on the race and the planet?
So yes and no. There's gonna be a lot of yes and no answers here. Yeah, there's ones that come through more for emotional things. There's ones that come through for physical things or energetic alignments to this planet. There's quite a few people that aren't good at grounding or like settling in. They're always misplaced. And there's like a whole team that will come in. I mean, a lot of people are aware of like the Galactic Federation. There's definitely other alien federations besides just the Galactic Federation. Kind of like we have like a head council, and then there's like other little sub councils of different types. We have a lot of genetic issues between us, right? Each one,
Why you gotta call me out like that? Man.
I think our things would be different. Like yours would be, I mean, we might have overlapping places that things come from, but there would definitely be different aspects of it where they come through. It would be different frequencies of how they work. It would be different cell work that they would do, different So this is probably gonna sound really weird. There's some, and I know some of my students might be listening too, so they probably heard this from me. There's times they will actually align with people. It's not an abduction. They are aligning their energy with you to work on healing you. So people might feel really off or be like, where was I the last 3 hours? What does he mean 3 hours went by? Like I'm sitting in the same spot I went. It's not like a full out abduction. It's literally like you got something aligned with you and it's working through your body for you.
So would that be kind of like the equivalent to missing time in a way without completely like disappearing?
Yeah.
Like that, you know,
Yeah.
like how
Yeah,
did
you're not
4
like
episodes
disappearing.
go by?
Yeah. Pretty much. Um, so I mean, there's just such a broad, I mean, I think it could definitely be its own thing. However, when I'm working with people, there's usually other things that come through. I don't really just eliminate everybody else for the alien work. But even as far as planetary frequencies, that without a being, there's times that there will be actual planetary frequencies that we're not aligning with here because people are so focused on grounding. I'm a big, big fan of universal and galactic grounding through your hands versus through your feet into the earth. Um, there's a lot of times that people are not getting the full vibration or frequency upgrades they need because they're not tapping into what else is up above us.
Hmm.
So that can really help people that are just feeling like their life's in complete chaos. So this isn't the only thing that cause that. I want to be clear about that. Um, I notice it more in healers, to be honest, when they're getting upgrades that things are trying to step in or they need to be aligning and they're kind of not hearing it. They're focused on like they refocus completely on grounding or they're trying to tune into their healing team as far as like guides and things like that. But a lot of times it comes down to there's a way higher power up there. And I'm not talking like heaven in our galaxy. I'm talking like way beyond that, other universes that are like, hey, we're trying to align you with this vibration, this frequency, so you can help these lower vibration frequencies. And yes, we as humans are pretty low on the totem pole for vibrations and frequencies.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, when your frequency is matching up with one of the beings, do they come in and also become a spirit channel to
Yes,
that person?
they can. So
Okay,
if somebody's willing to accept that, yes. Otherwise, that's
okay.
kind of where the healer kind of becomes like you the medium of that. So it could be just for the healer's purpose, but there's a chance that it could come through and be for the actual client that's getting worked with, or the person
Hmm.
being worked with, I guess I should say. And it might be more meant for them. So it might be something that when you start working with, you're like, oh, this is really neat. I want to keep this. And then when you're like done, you close up everything, you reseal everything, and you're just like, oh, well, where'd that go? Like, what the heck? And it might be just meant for that situation.
Okay, okay. So the healer might have also a little scattered once that being leaves, a little
Yeah.
scattered that's happening to them because you
Oh,
know
definitely.
the.
I mean, it's like being drunk or so. It's like the weirdest. Like sometimes you actually feel like what just happened to me. You're like you're dizzy and like your whole body feels different. It's not like drained. Like if you had like a psychic attack or
Mhm.
like something with paranormal, it happened. It's like a whole different like you it's just a feeling. It's really hard to explain it, but it's kind of the closest human thing is like kind of like being drunk where you feel like you're really
Mhm.
fuzzy, your
Mhm.
body feels kind of heavy. Um,
Have
yeah,
no memory of what you just did, but
right.
have maybe vague memory. Okay, now I
Yeah,
understand something that happened to me. Okay.
yeah. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for you to say like, so I had this experience because I'm like, yeah,
I understand now. Okay. No, no, it was a very peaceful experience, but I just felt displaced. I felt like what happened, where I am, what did I do?
right. And it can
You
be
know, and
honestly, there's times it's hard to like function afterwards. It's like, okay, I know I need to pick up my cup of water, and it's like judging, like misjudging distance. It's like kind of a really weird until you like refocus in your body, and it's not something that
Mhm.
just like a quick regrounding or centering thing's gonna really fix. It's, I mean, you're adjusting your whole energy at that point, your whole being at that point from that.
Yeah, I
So
just went to bed and sleep.
that's honestly like the best thing to do.
Now it's
Okay.
interesting when you're talking about communicating with them. I highly doubt the rest of our expanded universe, they all speak English or Russian or like, how does that communication work?
Usually comes through as frequencies, as symbols, and then like an image. So like usually they kind of show me like this whole thing kind of played out, right? I hear all this, it's all happening at the same time. So I'll be hearing things, seeing colors, seeing symbols of different things. It'll just gradually start to okay, so like when you do spirit work, when you're dealing okay, if you're talking to like a past loved one for somebody, or you're picking up like health information for somebody, you can kind of fill in the puzzle pieces, right? There are things that we're familiar with, and we can just kind of be like, oh, we know this is tied to this is this, and it starts to just fall into place. And it's a lot like that dealing with other planetary things too, whether it's directed from the planets as far as frequencies or from a being that's trying to help. They show you everything first, and then they kind of back up a little bit and then start to be like, okay, so we're going to do this to work on this system. We're going to do this to work on this. This is for emotional. One of my favorite ones for working with emotional healing work, they look like these little purple and orange sea anemones. They're adorable. They come up and they like open up and they're like orange at the bottom. These little purple like tentacle things come out and they literally just pull in like negative emotions. They just like curl them up and like suck them back into themselves. And they're like just the cutest thing. And they have like a really mellow, peaceful frequency. And I just absolutely love them. But then there's other things that come through that are just like they hit you pretty hard. And then sometimes you're just kind of like, what is even happening to me right now? But you know it's like for a higher purpose. So it's okay to keep working with it. And it's just major medical issues, genetic things, cancers, not all cancers, some cancers. That there's just like higher teams that come through and they kind of kick your butt, not gonna lie. They because it's so between just your ears ringing and your whole body will start to vibrate. The pulsing is different than you pick up when you're working with like more earth like healing modalities. Your body is just like supercharged with things. So then when you're done, it kind of when you come back to the human being, it's kind of like your body just feels a whole different level of exhaustion. And it's not again, it's not like an attack. It's just like it's a way higher vibration than our bodies are used to here on Earth. So it just kind of throws you for a loop. Like you were saying earlier about your body short circuiting, like with medical stuff, like I just feel like I'm short circuiting. And that's kind of what it's like, when you're doing those things. But they definitely all have a purpose. There's some that are just here to straighten people out too. They're almost kind of like karmic work. They just kind of come through. They're like, you're a shitty human. Move over.
Calavera is asking, will they tell you what they want to be called, or do you have to go research it? So if
Um,
you
yeah. So some of them really don't have names. They really just come through as a frequency. And I just, I don't. I have tried a couple times, almost like a toning type thing where you can like communicate back with them. But some of them really just don't have names. It really is just like a human thing. You kind of ask them, like, I would like to call you something. What would you like me to call you? My theory is just ask. The worst that they're going to tell you is no or shut up or something. So
now, did you say that most of them were female?
No, neither male or female. They seem to be able to change if they want to be, but most of them don't identify as anything. They're just a being. They're just here doing their well, not here. They're there, maybe visiting via either through our human bodies or just stopping by to help us. But they're neither male or female typically.
Hmm. Now, what is the most common type of alien being that you encounter the most? I know you mentioned your little sea suckers.
Yeah. um, that's a good question. Huh. I've never honestly never thought about that. Because I just like channel them and they come through for different things. I feel like I get a lot of different ones, more than like the same ones coming through. So I have the little anemone guys that are like my normal ones. I do work with some reptilians. Actually, there's like a whole white reptilian legion. For like you would have your legions of angels. There's like a whole white reptilian legion. Probably 3 or 4 years, the COVID era, I guess we'll call it, right? There's been a lot more different ones coming through. It's kind of like there's all hands on deck trying to straighten out whatever the hell is going on this planet. So there's been a lot of different ones coming through for different things, just constantly. I feel like,
Because I think we've all heard of the reptilians, and they seem to
yeah,
get a bad rap, right? Everybody's like, "Oh, they're evil. You're reptilian. Boo hiss."
Right.
The Palladians, the Arcturians,
Yeah.
the Galactic Federation. But, I've always thought, and Maria, I'm sure you would too, like it is so vast and giant and our universe is expanding. Like there
Right.
has to be more than that.
Beyond ancient, and it's still so like far expanding into the future. Well, it's not really future, right? Because there's no time, blah blah blah. But as far as Earth timeline, the future. So yeah, it really is so vast out there.
There's even a race, and I don't know what they're called. And I got a glimpse of one once while driving, freaked me out, and then I was immediately mad about it. It was like a
Missed
giant praying
opportunity.
mantis, and I'm
Yes.
like, "How are you gonna just show up in front of my car while I'm driving?" Like,
Mhm.
that's
And
a
nothing
dick
else.
move.
Yeah.
You know?
The
That
cop's
is
not
not
gonna believe me that I hit the telephone pole because of that.
yeah, 'cause there's like a 8-foot praying mantis in front of my car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and it it was, like, startling at first, but then, it didn't feel bad, it didn't feel negative. Any negative
Right.
was for me just being startled while
Right.
driving, but I never got a glimpse of them later, and I'm like, "So what are they called, and what is their purpose?" You
I
know?
definitely feel like they're a lot closer to our galaxy, our planet, than people want to believe, to be honest. They seem to be, I would say when people tell me they've had a alien encounter, it's more commonly them, to be honest, than like grays. They'll be like, I swear there was a giant insect around me. And I'm like, it could have been. Um, so So, and there's ones that look a lot like owls. The closest thing I can relate them to are owls that we have here. But they're not really owly. They're more slippery looking. I mean, they're winged. They fly. They have big eyes. They have little beaks, but they're stocky kind of. Again, I don't have a name for them either. They come through. They're like whitish, goldish colors to me.
Mhm.
Not sure if they appear to other people in other colors. If they change colors for things, I'm not sure about that. I've only ever seen them like in a whitish gold, kind of like a snow owl, snow alien owl.
Huh.
um, and they have their sound's a very droning sound. To be honest, like a lot of will come through like a higher frequency. They have a more droning sound to them. So, um, but I like them. They feel like they're kind of like peacekeepers around. They kind of like go and check on people. Um, Definitely also connected to like the omen of death and things with owls. They definitely come around for those kind of things also. So even though they're more peaceful, they also come in for harsh realities. So
Would they also, like, offer, solace for, like, family members of somebody who might be
I
passing?
I feel like they do. I mean, I don't think a lot of family members are gonna be like open to hearing that, but I feel like there's like the sound that they make is a very hypnotic sound. So I feel like even without people realizing it, if they would be receiving that, right? Like they're bringing these sounds, right? So like in a sense, they're communicating that vibration, their sound, their frequency is actually going through us. So when you're feeling that, that's kind of like in a sense, it's a healing of its own. But sometimes you just have to break through the shell of people to get that in through them, basically.
Interesting. I believe, what is it? Syrian, right? There's the little blue guys, right? I believe or no, those are the Octurians. There's the Syrians, but then there was like Syrian B. Anyway, getting to it. The cat people. And I'm like, I love them. And was the creator of Thundercats channeling that planet? Because I'm like, they're pretty freaking cool. I want to go visit there.
I mean, I think there's a lot of possibility with all of that, right? I don't think when it comes to working with aliens and other planets, there's nothing you can really disregard because it is so beyond vast. That's kind of like, we all know that the ocean is like this deep abyss and there's so much unexplored, but then like the universe and galaxies are like so far beyond that. Like we're like a little dot, like we're a pea-sized dot in the middle of all that, you know. And so I just I'll be really honest about it. Like, I'm not up on all my alien species that are well documented because I also believe I've noticed this with like entities and beings from realms and dimensions. Also, just because they give one person a name doesn't mean they're going to give somebody else that same name, right? Like people that know me personally know me as Kayla. And then there's like the more paranormal, spiritual work people that are just like, oh, hey, Kirby, what's up? I'm the same me. It's just the name that people have for me, right? um,
Mhm.
so I think it's very much the same, or they'll tell people what they think we're going to relate to, um, and go from there.
yeah, the Lyrians, the lion people. Um, Hold up a Google tab confirming that. And once I learned about that, I'm like, "Oh, I must be from that planet. I am leopard print." Um,
That's the thing, like, like Sekhmet, the Egyptian goddess, right? Like, so that ties into that too, the cat people, right? She was a lioness, the goddess.
mhm.
So, I
Mhm.
mean, there's a lot of these ancient cultures that I think are way more tied to other planets than they want us to believe here.
You had mentioned earlier about, like, somebody might have, like, a regular, like, little alien friend that comes in a lot for their healing. Could
Yeah.
that be because they were connected to them maybe in a past life on another planet? Because you
It could
also can tap into past lives on other
other
planets.
planets and parallel lives. So, a lot of times it could be Um, I'll just use myself as an example. There's times when I can feel that I'm aligned with something different. Like, right, we're like slivers of different things. Especially when you're a natural healer, you're just gonna be different aspects. Like if you divide yourself, kind of like a CAT scan. If you divide yourself into all these slivers, there's different aspects of you. Um, and there's parts of you that at some point maybe not being used at all, right? And then all of a sudden you start aligning with these other aspects of you that are tied to other planets that are like a here and now parallel timeline basically, or like we're just running into that timeline where you exist as that, but you're also existing here on earth, so you're now working with that part of you here and there at the same time. So
You hurt my brain, but I
it's
get
kind of almost like having an attachment to yourself in another place
it.
basically.
It's like a multi-dimensional you in another
Yes.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there can be like dimensional, that's another thing, so there can be like while you're going through these phases, you can have like another realm or dimension version of yourself and another planetary version of yourself and a past life
Mhm.
part of yourself all coming together.
Mhm.
And so then when you start unraveling those pieces, and it's usually those things all happen when somebody's going through like a big life change, whether it's good or bad. It's, if you're following the right path, things start to pop into place good and go forward quicker and smoother. If you're not on the right path, and that doesn't mean that it's yourself doing it, it could be, getting wrong medical diagnoses. It could be living with the wrong person, different things, and it starts to like create blocks where that part of you can't align with you. So then it gets just kind of like held up over in the timeline, and everything else keeps moving, and then you start to have kind of hiccups in your life.
Hmm. So in a way, when you're aligning with yourself and all you're just reaching into tools that you have at your disposal in
Right.
different areas and bringing that in to help elevate yourself
Yes.
now.
And they might not be all made for you at one point in time, right? Like you may have had some of those experiences when you were a kid, like me with my drawings. I'm sure I was aligned with those things at that point in time. And I was just like, oh my God, what's going on at home? And yet here I was like 5 years old in my bedroom at my parents' house. My parents were like, wow, what's going on with my child? But to me, it was like a real life thing, right? Like those like parts of you. And then maybe as an adult, all of a sudden you have this dramatic shift of things. Like some people, I mean, yes, people have a midlife crisis typically, blah, blah, blah. But there are people that have like a better version of that. It's just like, what's going on? Everything's changing so much for me right now, or I'm no longer interested in this, but I'm so interested in this stuff. And a lot of times it's a different part of you aligning with you that changes things for you.
I remember when I was first kind of learning about how oh, his name just went out of my head. This author, he has a book about like bees being from Venus and it's multidimensional and the whole Venus and bees and like that sweetness coming from there. And he's like, but it's like this dimension that's on top of this. And he was actually, I'm sure if I was better at like astrophysics and dimensional and string theory, like I would have understood what he was saying. And I was just going, uh-huh, okay. Like,
There's like I don't understand a lot of that stuff, but like it makes sense. Like I hear it, I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense. Like there's so many things living here with us that are not like Earth things. We think they are, but they're not.
I
It's just
feel like octopus did not come from here.
there's quite a few things, right? That are just like, I mean,
Mhm.
are praying mantis really bugs? Like, let's think about this. Like, just all these different things, right? There's so many different things. Like, we got some really weird fish out there too in
Mhm.
the ocean, right?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of things that are around us that we just assume are Earth human experiences, and they're just not.
Getting back more on the healing thing, if somebody were wanting to try and tap in and be like, I want to entertain working with some alien energies for like healing or just starting with communication. Do they need to go outside and try to call in a ship? or like how would they start?
So not all of them have ships. Let's not offend them. I mean, more of them move freely than I see with ships, to be honest. Yes, there are ships, but there's plenty of things that just jet around out there. I wouldn't say that there's a time of day that is better for it. There are definitely locations that are better for it. Like our land is in the southern tier, it's about an hour from where I live. Crazy alien activity there. Like people kind of that have lived in the area, just like they're always seeing UFOs, always having weird experiences. Yeah, it's not really well documented, so that's kind of interesting. Arizona's a good one, right? There's like places that are definitely like good for these things, but they're not like a mandatory thing because they're not hooked to those places. Crystals, you can use crystals. Again, it's not a must. They're more of a, is it a comfortable thing for you? Right? These things don't exist where they're from. It's going to be more tapping into, of course, protecting yourself from attracting anything negative while you're doing this. As far as whether it's realms, dimensions, other alien type things, you want to block off all that stuff before you open up to this, because you have to be pretty open to do it before you, and then like manage it from there. It's usually going to come through as an experience, not always. For a starting thing, the hardest thing for people to grasp is that it's not always going to be this profound experience like you had in front of your car, like I had at the fire the one night. It's not always going to be something completely visual. It's going to be usually a quick experience, a vibration or frequency through your body, the losing of time. And that's going to, and then like remembering things after that, or like things changing for you. That's going to be the encounter. So the expectation of people to like have this in person, like I'm going to talk with them, I'm going to have them land here, I'm going to be able to see this, this, and this up in the sky, isn't always really how it goes. They're not all trying to make this big production of what they're doing here. They're happy to help, but they're not always like, between the three of us, not all of us are very like public people, right? Like we're not super like, so they're kind of like the same way. They're not going to like throw themselves right in the front of everything. There are some that will. It's just patience. They want to have your trust, just like they don't want their time wasted either. Let's put it that way, right? It's kind of like I was watching one of the videos that was posted on the Goddess Elite page about like when people come in and just challenge us, whether it's for like a reading or healing, and how it's really wasting your time. I mean, it wastes our time too, but like you're not getting anything out of it. So it's kind of the same thing for aliens, right? Are we challenging them? Are we doing that to them because we just want to hear from them just so we can say, I communicate with the alien? But yeah, they want to be helping people. So it's kind of the same, kind of put yourself in their shoes. Do you want to be woken up at 4 a.m. and told this is an emergency when you're, okay, never mind, I talked to you, and that's all they want? Like, you'd be a little annoyed too. So I would say find a purpose to focus on, not just communicating with them. Like, what is it that you want to do? Is this something you want to heal for yourself? Is this something you want to add to your healing modalities, your healing toolbox that you want like to share with other people? Is it something you want to do to help heal the earth and the land itself? Is it something you want to heal the atmosphere? Focus on what the thing is that you want to communicate with them about. Do you really want to get probed because that's been a lifelong dream? Then you should probably focus on that. That's not everybody's goal, right?
Channel somewhere, ma'am.
Right?
I feel like that is a whole other topic.
Yeah.
I think we need to create a paywall for that one.
Right. I don't want to be involved in that one. Find somebody else.
Oh no, you brought it up. You're in. Maria, do you have any questions?
Yeah, sometimes they also pick you. You don't go looking for them, they pick you.
Definitely.
I know that I got picked. I didn't see it. I did not. I just feel the whole entire energy just shifted, and I noticed that, like you said, not all of them come in a spaceship, but this one I noticed a craft. I noticed a craft because the energy that was contained, I noticed a craft. And it was odd because I went to see I was seeing someone a couple of days later, and this person was just startled because I sat down and they were like, I don't know what I'm seeing here. I said, what are you seeing? Describe to me what you're seeing. And she said they're blue skin, and then I said, oh, I know who you. I go, never mind, that's one of my guides. I just connected to them. So they do pick you.
They do.
You know,
Right.
so yeah. So not necessarily go out. I mean, you can go and ask, but I like it when they come to you because they pick you.
They know your purpose. They know that you're going to align with them, or they
Exactly.
client as you have is yeah. I've
Exactly.
people get
Because
upset with me because they haven't been able to connect with aliens. I'm like, well, that's not. It's probably not your thing. And again, if you're doing it just to challenge them to say that you did it, they don't want to be bothered with that. But if they know you're genuine, like we know you're a genuine healer, they're gonna come through to you to work with you because they know you genuinely want to help people.
yeah. And I didn't even know what this was. I just couldn't explain to me. The only thing that came is like the energy just shifted and it was so intense.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? I don't know this energy.
It's either like really euphoric or like really intense. Like you're still like jittery after, like, oh, what just happened? Like too much coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I know I didn't have no more than one cup that day. So I know it was something else that happened and I could not get my guides to tell me because, well, one of them said it is too hard for us to explain the way you can comprehend it. I go,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, that's the thing. And that's why I'm saying, like, there's not always names. There's not always like a full depiction of them, right? Because they can't explain it. And not everything is what we want it to be here. We always like I have books on demons and monsters and aliens and stuff, and it's like sometimes I read them, I'm like, I don't think they want to be getting called that, but okay, like I'll tap into that thing. I'm like, well, you must have been having a bad day, and they just did that to shut you up. It's kind of like your parent giving you a candy bar in the store, and you're having a temper tantrum when you're a kid. Just take it and shut up. Like I'm done. Like here's my name.
Can you also set Can you
Oh,
set boundaries though? Can you set boundaries with them? Because like I don't want to be woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning because they want to use me to do a healing on someone.
yes and no. Well, see, that's where it gets tricky though, because there isn't time, right? So like you have to be like really specific of like for my time, for my well-being, can you work on me, blah blah blah. But there's some things you have to be sleeping for. But then when you wake up, you're like dead tired, like you didn't sleep. And it's when you're getting these upgrades because you're really just out wandering doing things with them. You can't really we're not able to get what they need from us during the day, which is why I firmly believe that like the blackout situations, like where you kind of like are out of your body, but you like know you're physically, you can hear everything that's going on around you, right? Like I was saying, I was at my desk that day typing, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And I think they force you into like, it's like the forced shutdown, the hot shutdown on your computer, right? They're like trying to do something with you and you're not listening. They're just like, yeah, hot shutdown. You're just going to, we're going to like do what we need to do because this is when we need to do it. So yeah, you can try to have boundaries. You can try, you can ask, you can work on it, but there's not always, I mean, they have an agenda and they know what they're doing usually. So I've learned I used to try to force them to like, or at least work with them to like not do those things. And I realized it actually just took longer. Like if I'll let them just like keep me up for like 3 nights. Okay, fine, cool. We're done with 3 nights. If I like try to be like, nope, I need you to work with me from these hours to these hours, or at least when I'm awake, or not when I'm driving, not with this. They're just like, okay, so 3 weeks then. Cool. And, it's kind of honestly just worked out the last several years. I've noticed it's just a lot better, quicker if I just kind of let them do what they need to do. Yeah. So yeah, you can work around it. It just depends. There's going to be a trade-off basically.
Yeah, I do have a question. When you said about a dead silence, and I know how that feels because I've experienced it numerous times when everything is a dead silence, and it could you could hear the wind at a distance, but the leaves are not moving. It's like so
Yeah.
at that point in time, have you stepped into another dimension of those beings
I
and
think
working with you or doing something or getting a download? Because I've
so.
experienced that a lot.
Yeah, if you're actually working on something that happens, yes, right? Like you're stepping into that or aligning with that. However, there's been things like that I've noticed like outdoors or like on a bigger scale where it's almost like a whole like veil comes over
Mm-hmm.
for what's happening. It's like everything in that area kind of goes into the same thing. Like so there's a group of guys that over a couple, 2 counties I should say, that were out hunting that were friends of ours. So like not people that would normally be at all the kind of guys that would like they're like country guys. They're not like concerned about aliens and angels and ghosts and whatever. they all across the counties and towns that they were in saw a really bright light. Everything got completely quiet, and they all had this like blinding like white light, but all the animals were running before that, like that were in the area. Like one whole field cleared out from this guy's field. His I don't remember what he's growing, but whatever. It wasn't corn. It was something that was like lower down, so you could see all the deer. They all took off running before that happened, and everything just got really quiet. Like just really weird situation that was like, oh, okay, yeah, this person had this experience. But then like they started talking to other people and were like, was it at this time? Like it was just before dark and blah blah. Like so it was like that whole area was covered in the same thing. And there wasn't like a bright like ball of light. It was literally just a white out basically of the whole area. And all people having the same experience. Everybody saying the same thing. I could see everything, then it was like blinding white, no animals, and then it took like the whole day for the animals to come back. Like there was nothing around the rest of that night. So I think there's times where it can be both ways. Like when you're healing and you're focused on things, it's going to come to you. But there's other times that it can just happen where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because it happened either or. When I'm doing a distant healing on someone, everything is completely, I mean, a family member could be upstairs watching TV and all of a sudden it's like everything is silent.
Nothing. Yeah.
Completely silent. And I'm in the zone, so I don't even pay attention. And then once I'm done with the healing session, it takes a while for the noise to come back.
Yeah.
Personally, I like the noise to be out.
And it's like a whole different level. It's not like earplugs. It's like a whole nother level of silence.
Yeah.
Out. And unless they want you to hear something, you are not going to hear it. But do you notice that when that happens to you, that you feel different vibration or frequency from your body or like coming through your hands, that kind of thing?
Sometimes it's to the point that I don't even feel comfortable in my body when I'm done.
Yeah.
And I've also experienced that when I go out. Sometimes, I'm by myself, or there was one instance I was with my son, and I said, "Do you hear that?" He go, "Mom, I hear the wind. I hear the birds. What are you talking about?" I go, "Silence. It's awesome." He go, "I don't know what you're talking about. The bird is chirping. The wind is, I go, "No, it's complete silence." So he thought I was completely nuts that time. But I said, I go, "I don't hear anything."
That can happen like when you're getting upgrades too. Because like again, like we said, they're not gonna like necessarily do things on our time, what we think is an acceptable time. And so it can be the blindness, it can be the hearing loss, it can, be both at the same time. But usually you lose one of your senses, at least because they're just trying to make you tune out stuff. Like they're not gonna be able to do their work. Just like we tell people typically, like, oh, we'd rather you not be on your phone, your tablet, watching a movie while we're doing healing. Like be
Mhm.
in the healing. That's
Mhm.
essentially what they're doing to us. But they don't really, I mean, we're not checking in with them, right? We're not really registering with them technically, like typically, I should say, and being like, "Hey, are you going to do upgrade on me today? Good, because I'll like be done at 5 o'clock." Like we don't really do that. Where when you're working with a client, you're just like, "Okay, we set up an appointment, you go from there," kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Um, we don't schedule appointments with them. They just kind of start doing their work, and then you're just walking down the street going, "I hope I don't get hit by a bus because I don't hear any sirens." Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's always kind of a unique experience, I think. Each one can be a little different. There's definitely some overlapping traits.
You've mentioned before, Kayla, that people might hear high pitched noises ringing, and like, how would somebody know the difference between tinnitus or tinnitus? I've heard and
Right.
said different ways
Like
versus
diabetes and diabetes.
yeah, or like frequency, because
Yeah.
it wasn't you, it was another facilitator who does some, alien work, and their reply was, "You're just in constant download 24/7." And I'm like, or I listened to Metallica too loud as a child.
Right.
But but like mine will shift, it will change, it will, and every now and then, like it will stop for a few seconds in that relief of like,
Right.
and then it kicks right back in.
So
So for, what's the difference?
so people with tinnitus get used to their sound, right?
Mhm.
Like you're used to what that sounds like. Anything above and beyond that is usually when you're going to have, and a lot of people do have it. Like I don't have tinnitus, but I'm so sensitive to electrical sounds that to me it's almost the same thing because I like feel them in my head and it drives me absolutely nuts. So I'm too close to this light switch. I should really move where I'm sitting. So like, but that's like my version of that. And so um anything that's like beyond that is usually going to be, so for me, I usually see angels are more like here I should say are more like a bell, right? Like different tones of bells, different chime type sounds, where alien encounter type things usually come through more as like digital sounding frequencies. That's like the closest I can relate them to is here's like what you would make electronic digital frequencies out of. There's like a whole different pitch to them. Even like the lower pitch things have like a different feeling to them. Not I'm not talking like electric guitar type sound. They're talking like more like if you create like digital music, electronic frequency type things. Um, so I feel like anything that's beyond what you're used to your normal being, because there's lots of people with that from working on machines, listening to music, just whether hairdressers have it from listening to hair dryers all day and talking over them. But the things that go beyond that, or when you're feeling it, or if it's really strong on one side, and then all of a sudden something happens. That's why I always tell people is to pay attention to what's going on around you and who's around you when this happens. So if it starts getting a lot louder, you might have your normal base level, but if it starts getting louder, what's going on around you and who's around you? Like what are the things? Is it a warning? Is it, they say like left for love, right for spite is like a general thing, a quick shortcut for people. Not always the case for everybody, but it's like a general thing for a lot of people. And so did it switch sides? Did did it start amplifying your right side when somebody was around, but completely shut off on your left side? And even if it sounds like your tinnitus, if one side shut off and the other side's still going, that would be like your answer to like it being a spirit, whether it's spirit or aliens or, whatever, one of our vast visitors.
It's not often where both will just like get quiet. It's almost like a switch gets flipped, almost
Right.
like a vacuum, and it just stops. And I'll, like, oh, yay.
Right.
And then it's back.
I mean, there's definitely physical ailments, right? It is what it is. We're still humans. We still have these physical things. It's picking up the changes that make us aware of what's for us and what's not for us. Like this,
Mhm.
I mean, no offense, it's your fault. You did it to yourself.
Yeah, and I remember too, like, I was in 3rd grade, I think, when it first started happening. I was on a really, really loud school bus to the point, I mean, these kids were loud and my ears were hurting, like, that crackle noise was starting.
Yeah.
I was sitting there like this, and the driver pulled the bus over and was like, "We are not gonna go home until you guys sit down and be quiet." And I mean, my ears hurt, and that was kind of the beginning of, like, that
Yes.
crackling, and then later on, listening to loud music, and then so there's the crackling, and then there's the high pitch over it.
Yeah.
So, every now and then I might get an even higher pitch that will come through for a couple of seconds, and I'll kind of be like, "What was that?"
And those will be your communications.
I'm like, "Who's in the well? What? Who? Was that your bat signal? Got it."
Any like sounds beyond that or any silence beyond what your normal is are those are your communication things. There's
Okay.
times, I'm sure you both have come across it too, like working with people, like when you're actually working on them, even if they hear some sort of frequencies, you're like, oh, my ears weren't ringing. Like they notice like a whole different silence that they're not used to also. And it's because you're taking away even if they're hearing some sort of frequency, they're not hearing their normal in their head buzzing. It's like a whole different, even though they think they're hearing it in their ears, they're really not. It's basically like coming through you from whatever source they're working with at the time. But a lot of people say, "Oh, I haven't felt this calm," or "Things haven't been this quiet in a while." And you're like, "Quiet?" Because it hasn't been quiet for me in the last hour. Like half an hour. My head's going, all these different sounds going on the whole time. But even typically, people that aren't aware of what's going on are like, "Oh, I only heard this, and this, but it was so quiet." It's like, yeah, that's the energy. The energy changes. It's shutting off what's not good for them, so that you can
Mhm.
focus on what's good for you.
I don't think we talked about it here, and maybe we'll bring it up now because I know you and I have talked about it. Like, not necessarily karma, but like things that have followed you from past life or dimensional, to here that maybe you're here to heal that, put
Right.
an end to it. And
Do you
so,
have to heal it or do you have to continue it because you never got to finish it? Like there's, a lot of pieces that go into that too.
yeah, and maybe that lifetime here makes it easier to address it, to, take care of it, to heal it, to cut it off, to come to terms with it of however it needs to be dealt with.
And that's like another big topic is because whether it's an alien based thing or a realm or dimension based thing that you're making up that piece for, right? That you're here trying to do, if what you did here on a human level, does that compensate for that, or did you have to do it on another level, right? Like, do you have to go
Don't be
into
adding more work to me. Won't you be adding more things to my to-do list, ma'am? I reject your theory.
We have Top Slam shut. We're done.
Like, we're done. Live
Let's do
over.
Well, that's kind of our purpose, right? To keep pushing people, our humans selves, and keep going for this. But I mean, it would be nice. Those are things that I think are really important to look into, is like this aspect of ourselves. Like, we're pushing, and if sometimes we have these repeat lessons, okay, is it tied to another aspect of ourselves that we need to take care of? Like, was I a total asshole alien, and now that's why I'm stuck with like some of these certain things? So they're just like, oh, well, we're gonna punish her, but technically she has to go to Earth because she already agreed to go to Earth. So we're just gonna send her with all these DNA issues because we need to punish her here, and she decided to leave. So that's kind of a thing. So I don't think I was an asshole alien, but I might have been, because I'm obviously having, genetic things. So there's
Think about
situations.
yourself, Kayla. Tell us, what did you do before?
I'm not sure. Clearly, I was
your
in a
dog
war.
pooping in my yard?
I was no. Right there, Spot. Right there.
Right. Guys, we've been talking about,
The multi dimensions of you. A part of you can be in a different dimension, in another galaxy, another planet. Okay. If that life is shortened, will you feel aspects of it
Yeah.
in this realm?
People feel like there's part of them missing when that happens.
Okay.
I feel like,
because it's like, for some reason or another, is like a person, like, I would have a client, or it happened to me also. I would have a client and they're grieving. I can't pull them up. They didn't have any loved ones die recently. They haven't had any kind of change in their life, but I see the sadness, or I feel the sadness coming out of them. I have gone through it myself, where there's nothing going on in my family. There's no change or nothing, but you feel the sadness. So I'm just wondering if a multi-dimensional part of you in another galaxy, another, existence.
So it can also be at a time that you died in a past life from a situation too.
Okay.
So it can be a part of you connected to another realm, dimension, planet, being, whatever, whatever kind of being. But it can also be, for some people, a human past life. But you definitely can have missing parts of you, and that usually leaves people feeling, I kind of, like, from a healing standpoint, I kind of work on that as part of soul retrieval, because we're repairing, even if we're not retrieving that exact aspect of you, we still need to fill in that void. So are we just merging all the other pieces together, or are we retrieving another part of your soul that needs to be here now in your earth soul, like the part of you that's living here? I honestly do a lot of alien work with that, with my team. But something like that would also be really good with the anemones, the little purple and orange guys that I see, because they kind of like reach out and feel their little tentacle-y things, and they will pull in those things. And once they almost kind of think of them like as a clearing, kind of like they're clearing out that emotion, that grieving. And then you can kind of see better what is, like, do I need to put something else into that? Do I need to align this? But we need to pull out that emotion first, because those emotions don't exist at any of these other places, right? So we need to pull out that earth emotion part that we hold on to. And that's where, as far as if I'm working with aliens, I would use my little anemone team and have them come in with their little tentacles and pull out the emotions and, give me a clean slate to see what needs to go into there, basically.
I feel like you need a saltwater tank now with little,
I have these ones that I don't have to take care of. I don't have to feed them. Don't have to clean the tank. Don't worry about it when I go on vacation.
You're not running up the electric and water bill.
Right.
Okay.
My cat can't play in the fish tank because he does that. So I can only imagine if I had a giant tank.
All right, guys. Well, since we don't have any questions, thank you for joining, and we hope to see you next week.
Yep. So
bye.
in a couple weeks in person. Bye.
Yeah.